Today we're going to go through a powerful exercise designed to build your gesture skills, test your knowledge of the figure, build your brain's visual memory, and your ability to draw from imagination. So it's useful for a lot of things. Hi, my name's Kenzo, and this is Love Life Drawing. So we teamed up with Simon Luty again to bring you this exercise, which is about drawing from memory. Check out his Instagram page at mandela.ri. He learned this exercise from another artist called Vadim Marchenkov, and it's helped him get these really great gestural skills and helped him draw figures from his imagination. So the warm-up for this exercise is to do 5 45-second gestures, really purely just to loosen up. So Simon's going to demonstrate that warm-up on screen, and I'm going to talk a bit about the role of memory in drawing from observation, and then we're going to talk about the main exercise. So this isn't based on proper neuroscience, but it's what I think basically happens when we draw from observation. You observe the pose and put some of the visual information into your memory. You then move the information from your brain to the paper, and then you repeat it. Try to make sure that you look at the model a lot to keep your brain supplied with that visual information. While the information's in your brain, it's really easy for the information to be scrambled with your brain's preconceptions. So to find out more about those preconceptions, see the symbol stage in our 5 stages of learning to draw people video. So this is the biggest challenge for beginner artists, and this is what held me back for decades. Ideally, you'd like your brain to enhance your drawing by identifying what really matters, add meaning, add understanding, and retain the true gesture and reality of what the eyes are seeing. So for example, by studying anatomy, that equips your brain with information that helps it better understand what it sees and communicate that to the paper. So this exercise we're looking at today is designed to help you improve how this all works. It helps you to see where your brain is scrambling things, where it's replacing things with preconceptions, and lets you practice not doing that, and instead you teach yourself to capture the most meaningful things. So first, let's go through the exercise itself, and then we'll look at some important things to keep in mind while you do it. The exercise will take about an hour in total, and it can be added into your regular practice schedule. So choose 13 poses and get them all ready. Don't look at them too deeply yet, and we recommend the Croquis Cafe as a great place to find good poses. Use 5 of the poses for the warm-up, the 45-second drawings that we just looked at. For the first exercise, we're going to do 4 poses and draw them twice each. So first we draw the pose with 2.5 minutes on the clock, and as you draw you'll be observing the figure, simplifying it into what really matters. There's not much time, so you have to filter down to big important shapes and gestural lines and leave out all the other information. Take note of the major angles that you see. The angle of the rib cage against the pelvis, for example, that's a good one. Take note of a few major points in the proportions and alignments. Look for how the big shapes overlap each other, and don't concern yourself too much with the light and shadow. You're going to be drawing this without the reference later, so you can't really memorize everything. You can't memorize all the details. Your only chance is to simplify down to the big volumes of the pose. After the 2.5 minute drawing, we move on to the second drawing of the same pose. And this time, put 3 minutes on the clock and start by observing the pose for between 20 and 50 seconds, depending on how complex the pose is. So take note of the same things while you observe, the major angles in the big volumes. There's no drawing in this observation time, you're just looking at the pose, maybe ghost drawing above it with your hand, but not making marks on the paper yet. So then you hide the reference for the remainder of the 3 minutes, and you try to draw the pose using your memory and your imagination. You might forget something about the pose, which way the hand was facing or something like that, but that's fine. So in that case, try to draw something that makes sense. It's okay if your drawing doesn't end up exactly the same as the original. So after the 3 minutes, take 30 seconds or so to compare your two drawings. What changed when you drew from memory versus from the reference? Some things don't really matter, like if you had the hand facing a different way or you added some lighting that was different, but some things do matter, like if you straightened out the pose and reduced the gesture, if you reduced the important angles, or if you got something major wrong in the proportions or the anatomy. So Simon demonstrated this. He's actually obviously really good at this. There's not that many issues or problems to learn from in this comparison, which is good for him to know. But you might find more issues when you try it, because I did this exercise a while ago when I was still more of a beginner, and I found it really illuminating. I really remember this quite vividly. I was surprised at how much I struggled when I didn't have the reference. And I realized that I had huge holes in my understanding of basic anatomy. Something that stands out was realizing that I hadn't connected the pectoral muscle to the arm properly, that I didn't understand enough about what muscles did and how they connected to things. It was a really hard lesson, but an important learning moment for me that really stands out in my memory and made me understand the importance of studying anatomy. Before we go to the second exercise, I've got two super quick announcements. We're going to run our Life of Drawing 10-week program again from late September. Secondly, on September 1st, we're going to open up a new forum on our website where you can share drawings and discuss all things life drawing. So be sure to sign up to our newsletter at lovelifedrawing.com/lifedrawingsuccess to stay up to date with all of that. Once you've done 4 poses this way, it's time for the second exercise. This time it's the same thing with the drawings the other way round. So you start with the 3-minute drawing and then the 2.5-minute drawing with the reference. So you start with the 3-minute drawing with 20 to 50 seconds of observation of the pose. You look for those major things that really matter. You hide the reference and draw the pose from memory. Then after that 3-minute drawing, you draw the pose again for 2.5 minutes. And this time you do have the reference. So what happens with this version is that during the first drawing, there's a lot of unanswered questions and confusion. Like, this is hard. You've only observed the pose for 20 to 50 seconds and now you're drawing it from memory. Your mind is trying to visualize how the arm is connected to the shoulder, how the leg was, and all this kind of stuff. Your mind gets filled with really useful questions. And then when you do the second drawing with the reference, you're able to find answers to those important questions in the reference. And that's a great learning opportunity. So again, at the end, you take 30 seconds to compare your two drawings and pull out any more lessons you can from the experience. So if you're in the very earliest stages of learning to draw, the first 6 months say, I'd say don't do this yet. Keep it in your back pocket for later. Keep learning to observe and trying to draw what you see. Beginners with a little bit more experience, you don't need tons to get a lot out of this exercise, but a little bit more experience, and this is going to be really useful for you. You'll learn to observe what really matters, because you won't be able to remember much more than the essentials. You'll find gaps in your understanding of the figure, like I did when I tried it all those years ago. And if you struggle with quicker poses, you could consider giving yourself longer time frames for this exercise. You'll still get a lot out of it, and it might be more fruitful that way. So you could give yourself 5 or even 10 minutes for each drawing. If you do extend the overall time, also extend the time you give yourself to observe the reference for the memory drawing. So instead of 20 to 50 seconds, take 1 or 2 minutes to observe the reference. And intermediate and advanced artists will definitely get a lot out of this exercise. When you're reaching that point where you have lots of knowledge and skill, this is a great way to find gaps that you need to work on next, and then reinforce that simplification skill as well. So another benefit of this exercise is for those of you that want to draw people from imagination. When you draw from imagination, you're creating an image from nothing, which is amazing, but you are still using information and knowledge that you've gathered by doing lots of drawings in the past from observation. Because when you've drawn, a zillion hands or something, you can start to take that visual information that you've stored up in your memory and inject some creativity and recombine it all into something new. So your visual memory is a big part of drawing from imagination, and this exercise is also a stepping stone from drawing from observation to drawing from imagination. Before you guys do this exercise, we need to make a deal with each other. We should only do this exercise if we accept that the drawings might not look very good. There may be many problems and gaps in the memory drawings especially, and that's good. That's the point of the exercise. So make your mistakes without panic or disappointment, but with interest and curiosity and even excitement, because these are steps forward. When you've identified a problem, that's the first step to solving it. So having a positive mindset like that, I'm a total hypocrite because I would be disappointed if my drawing didn't turn out well. Having that positive mindset is hard. It's a skill, but making that deal with yourself will just make this way more fun and more productive. I hope that you enjoyed this. Try out this exercise. It's fun. It's really, really useful. There are more great videos on the screen, so check one out, and I'll see you next time.